Let's talk now about visual aids. Well, a visual aid is something that is going to draw the eyesight of the athlete towards that particular visual aid. An example of this could be as a long jumper approaches the long jump takeoff board. It's quite common for a long jumper to look down at the takeoff board to make sure that their foot is going to hit this. Now, this is a problem because if we look down like this with our head, like that, the body takes on a dished shape and it's not optimum for a long jump takeoff. However, what we can do is if we took, say, a brightly coloured cone and placed it behind the long jump pit, as they take off, if they're looking at that, it's more likely to make sure that their head and their body is in the correct position. Another example from another sport that I coach, the sport of boxing. Very, very common that when someone is learning a punch, that they will quite often go with an incorrect hand first. So what we can do is you could use a little sticker. I've got a little sticker here, and we put this on the hand that we want them to punch with first. Now, if I can see that, I'd put this on the inside here so I can see that there. So I can see this even though you can't see it from the camera. Then that will remind me to punch with that hand first because that sticker is reminding me so I can see that. My own opinion on visual aids is that they should be brightly coloured, but I'd like to be a bit more specific about that. I found that yellow dots seem to work best with this. So these are at the longer wavelength of light, whereas colours such as blue and ultraviolet are at the short wavelength of light. Having experimented with both, I find always that yellow works best. A word of caution though, there is a reason why when you see workers working on the motorway and you're driving past and you see workmen wearing a bright orange vest. Now, the reason for this is because of colour blindness. So you may find if someone is colourblind that they may not respond to yellow as well as they're going to respond to bright orange. The research was done back on this in the 1950s and 1960s, hence the reason why motorway workers wear bright orange, and it's because of colour blindness. Again, this is a case of working with the individual and asking them if this is a problem for them, and quite often we can see it's a problem for them because if we give them a visual signal and they don't respond, then we can start asking further questions. But do be aware that colour blindness can affect an individual's ability to see the visual aid that you're using. One of the things that makes it easy for someone to see is when there is contrast between two different colours like this. Now, one of the things that we're taught in school is that nature's warning colours are in fact yellow and black. And to us as human beings, that is correct. We actually see in a different light spectrum to some other animals. We cannot see in the ultraviolet spectrum. And quite often, what you'll find is that what appears to us as black is in fact reflecting ultraviolet radiation or ultraviolet light. For that reason, when we designed our focus pads, we used blue here instead of black and yellow because when I experimented with this, what I found was that people responded quicker and more accurately to blue as a background with a yellow dot because there is greater difference in the frequencies that we are able to see between blue and yellow and black and yellow. So what I'm saying is choose your colours carefully. Another example is I could have a dot, and if I wanted you to focus on this part here of me as I'm moving around, I simply stick that dot on there and then you can focus on that. So a dot is arguably one of the most useful things. A brightly coloured cone, yellow. They're going to work really, really well. My suggestion is with this is it's going to require a lot of experimentation. Don't be afraid to fail because every time you fail, it's just taking you one step closer to getting it right. So do keep trying, do keep experimenting, but using dots, particularly brightly coloured dots, are going to be the best visual aid and the most help to you. Many athletes find it useful to watch a replay of themselves performing an action immediately after they've performed that action. Now the simplest way of doing this is by using an iPad and replaying it back to the athlete either in normal speed, slow motion, or even quick speed if you find that that's appropriate to the sport. but giving them visual feedback by showing them what they are doing on the screen can be of benefit. A word of caution on that, of course. There's always a word of caution with these things. Some athletes imagine themselves very different to what actually appears on screen, and sometimes looking at themselves on the screen can actually be off-putting. So use caution with that method. It doesn't work for everybody. I would say it works for 90% of people, but some people do not like that.